To speak to us today about business gifts, we're going to hear from Mr. Joseph Rodriguez. So, if you don't know, Joseph sells a lot of business gifts. That is actually something that he specializes in. I did not. I'm a terrible host. I did not get the actual stats from Joseph on what he sells in business gifts. Maybe he can tell us that when he hops on here. But we all know that Joseph runs a very successful portion of Cutco, specifically working the business gift industry event shows and trains other reps on how to sell business gifts, and specifically at the booth. I know Joseph has a great follow-up game as well, but he sells a lot of business gifts at the booth. So he is going to be talking to us. And if you have the pleasure of getting to work with Joseph at any of your shifts for the state fairs, listen in, because I think you can learn a lot as well, just listening to him seek out and find and close some of those business gift deals that are all around us all the time that we sometimes don't realize are there. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Awesome. So I was thinking about, I had reached out to Kelly on what I wanted to talk about, and I reached out to Calvin and a couple people. And I know a lot of the speakers that have talked have given some really high level stuff, right? And sometimes that's all great and all, but I think the main thing that's really important is just how to actually connect with customers when you meet them at the booth, and how to transition, how to identify customers that are actually business business simple, and then just do any Q&A if you guys have any questions on any more deep level stuff that I can share. So the number one thing that I try to really have a mindset for anybody that I actually talk to at a booth is I try to remember to pitch everybody, right? We always talk about selling Cutco kitchens and kind of going all out. So my biggest goal when I talk to anybody, whether I know they're a business gift customer or not, is literally do the full pitch. I've done that in very different situations where it's turned a pair of shears from a marketing director to a $10,000 order a week later, right? So the message I want to give today is also focus on your mentality, on the people that you're focusing on in the booth, and make sure that you give them your all, because you never know who you're talking to and who you're dealing with. And that's kind of the message of my talk today, is you never know who's in front of you at the booth. And I'm sure there's been so many opportunities where we miss the person that's in front of us on who they actually are, right? One thing that you want to do, and I'm going to give you all assignments. The first thing you want to do is pick out your favorite piece of Cutco that you really love to sell, right? And then put a logo on it, and then pick a logo that you really like. We have a lot of people on here that have their own business, right? I know Marissa has a gym. I think Brett has a power washing thing. Calvin sells Louis Vuitton. So take the logo that you love, right? And go ahead and put it on that knife. And one, it's going to help you advertise your own business. But two, it's going to force you to talk about it to every single customer. My favorite is a hearty slicer. So I show it to everybody. I'm like, oh my God. And it's funny because most people, after a while, they'll say something like, oh, I didn't know the knives come with that logo. I'm like, oh no, we can actually put your logo on there and turn to a client gift. And then I go into the pitch, right? So that's the first thing I would do, is pick out a gift that pick out a knife that you really love, and pick out a logo that you really are passionate about, and you can talk about it, right? If anybody knows, seen my setup, I have a King Ranch logo. I never sold a ton to King Ranch, but because I have that logo, it's such a powerful thing, and I share it with everybody. And I ran into the King Ranch guys this last week, and they're like, oh my God, we did that. And I'm like, yeah. So we're looking at another set, right? But it's just because I have it out there, and I speak it into existence. And I also remind myself that, when we do these industry events, they're so expensive. It costs sometimes $50 to $100 to $200 to meet some of these customers. So when you're at a fair and you get the opportunity to, sell 5, 10, 15 grand in a day, those leads are costing you like $10, $5, right? So that's the cheapest business gift lead that you're going to get with the biggest ROI on it. So remember that, some of these people you can sell 5, 10, 20, $30,000 to, and the average client that you're going to meet is not a 10 or 20, 30 client, $20 or $30,000 client. It can potentially be a $100,000 client over the lifetime. So just remind yourself how important it is to be asking everybody if they own a business. So I wanted to talk about how I transition a pitch. So this is kind of the easiest pitch. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people kind of overthink on how we're how do we get to this situation, or how do we get to this topic without kind of throwing it off? So one thing is obviously having the logo on hand. But every single time I pitch somebody, I go into a set, I go into cookware, whatever it is, and I always stop myself and I say, "Hey, by the way, Kelly, do you own a business by chance?" "Oh, you don't? Okay, cool." The reason I'm asking is because what we do is we take our product, put your logo on it, we turn it to like a high quality gift, and we use it for corporate gifts, employee gifts, referral gifts, partner gifts, etc. Right? Do you own a business? And they'll usually say yes or no. And I just kind of go full on. And if they don't own a business, I try to get a referral to whoever actually owns the business. And I usually get this is, oh yeah, let me pass it on to our CEO. Let him make the decision. I'll tell him all about it. And that's where I step in and say, hey, I appreciate you trying to be the salesperson for me. But if I could be the salesperson, if you can give me their number or just CC me in an email right now, and I'll go ahead and present to them if that's okay. And then they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, so let me try to sell it to them, right? Let me do my job. And that's one thing I found also is if you're pitching everybody that it's going to cut that transition, and it's going to cut all that, it's going to cut everything else out that they're not doing correctly. So here's a couple things. Well, a little I just exited everybody. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Okay, there you go. Give me 1 second. I got this new computer. I don't know how to work it. Okay, cool. So yeah, basically what you want to do is just make sure that you're letting everybody know every single time that they own a business. Sorry, I lost my notes here. Okay, here are here's a couple things that you want to go through that you can make sure that they're a business owner. If somebody buys a big set right away and they can make a decision quickly, that's probably they're a business owner. Sometimes if they spend a lot of money, they're a business owner and they do it quickly. If they're very confident, if they have great posture and mannerisms, they don't have to be extroverts or anything. And some of the best introverts are actually the best business owners. Some cases they wear nice watches, shoes, and then in some cases, I'm sure you guys run into a lot of people like this. They're the people that are actually the most down to earth, right? They have like the old jeans, but they have like decent shoes, and they're really confident in all the things. And all of a sudden, they're the guys that owns like everything, but they're so humble about it, so you won't really know. They're also very low key and confident, and they're I always try to look at just the way they carry themselves. That's the biggest thing, right? I think the confidence is the most important part. And here's some I'm going to go over some key questions that I like to ask on a transition on a pitch. Once you meet an owner, this is what I ask. Mr. Business Owner, do you guys make decisions on client appreciation like this early? Or do you guys just wait throughout the year to knock it out? One thing I've been telling a lot of people that's helping me close in the last like week or so is it's kind of like my elevator pitch. I'm like, hey, the biggest thing I find is a lot of people wait till December to do their Christmas shopping. But what's happened to me personally and some of my clients is last year we ran out of product. We had logistical nightmares. We had tracking information that was lost. We had just engraving errors. We had just like a ton of different stuff going on. So what I'm doing for anyone that I meet right now as a service is I'm going to be working on your order early. So if you decide to get it here at the event, we're going to get all the chaos taken care of today, or like in the next week or two, versus waiting till December 15th. Is that something that you can make a decision on today, right? Would you feel comfortable making a decision without the rest of your team if it was just around $1,000? Can you get them on the phone if it's something that you're truly interested in right now, so I can get you that show special? Because we're actually doing a Christmas in July right now. So I highly recommend that you do something right now. And then the biggest thing that I found is on the pitch is education is probably the most important thing that you can do for anybody that you're meeting, right? We can pitch them and we can try to sell them and all that stuff and just hard close. But if you're not educating your customer on why it's so important to do client appreciation, why it's so important to do referral gifts, gifts, you're never going to be able to change their mind and you're never going to be able to get that sale, right? One thing I've been really kind of doing, like I met a subcontractor a couple days ago, and he was like, "Oh, I don't do any gifts." I'm like, "So you don't do anything for like your best, your general contractors, the guys that are actually giving you business? You never do anything at all because they're your best salespeople and they don't cost a thing. If you do $100 gift or $200 gift, it actually goes way up. Do for you, it can get 10 or 20 or 30 GCs that were
Hey, Joseph. I don't know if you can hear us, but we're definitely getting the remix version of you.
And you get enough. So go ahead and get all information.
There we go. Everything you said there for the last 15 seconds was garbled.
Okay. I'm in this huge storm right now. It's actually pretty epic. So that's probably what's going on. I'll go back to the contractor thing. So basically, I met a subcontractor. A subcontractor gets all their business from a general contractor. Let's say if he's a guy that pours concrete. Well, the general contractor outsources everything. So my goal is to educate him on how many general contractors can he basically gift, so that way he can get more business, right? So we ended up turning a small homemaker set into like a 5 or 10 gifts, right? And my whole goal for him was just to educate on how important it was to actually take care of his people. This is what I see most reps do, by the way. Hey, by the way, do you guys own a business? Awesome. Do you do gifts? Do you want to do 50 of them? They're like $100 each. That's $5,000. And most people are like, no, I'm good. Let's talk more about the set for my house. I'm not going to give $5,000 a cut to anybody. Versus, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I wanted to let you know, I don't know if you do any gifts at all or do anything for your clients, but the most important thing you can do for your relationships is enhance them by doing something that shows appreciation. What I find is most people do, they do a koozie or hat or like the 15th Yeti. The problem with that is it just doesn't really last. So what we're doing is we're trying to educate our customers on showing more appreciation for their clients. The same way you wouldn't give your wife a koozie or a hat as a gift, you would give them something like this. Is the same way we're treating your key accounts. So how many key accounts do you have in your business that you want to take care of? Who in your business is the person that's actually moving the needle that's going to help you get an ROI, or just somebody that you simply want to appreciate? So that's kind of my main thing today. I wanted to just kind of go over little things like that, and then I'm going to take some Q&A. I have a bunch of other stuff I can go on, but I don't know how much time I actually have.
Yeah, Joseph, we have about 4 more minutes, so you can either talk for a few more minutes, or we can just grab like 2 questions.
Okay, let's take some questions on specifically anybody that's kind of running into a situation at the booth where they kind of hit a wall and they don't know where to take it.
Joseph, I think one of the things I run into is like you get the person that is thinking too big, and it's like, hey, how do I get them started on a pilot program? Like I have a lot of customers that I've been talking to about business gifts, and I have one customer in mind, 200 to 300 gifts he does every year, and he's done Yetis in the past, spends $200-300, but it's like, and he's love the idea. He's got a full cookie kitchen himself, and yet he's not. It's like he keeps like in his mind again thinking about the 300, and I'm like, cool. How do I get him started on 50 or 20?
I would start off with the easiest thing is doing something for employees, because they're going to do something every year, right, for their employees. So their employees are their best clients because they're working for them and moving the business forward. So I try to start off with employee gifts. I'm like, hey, I'm sure you do something for the employees, right? You probably did like a bonus or dinner out or something, right? Now, I'm not saying that don't do a bonus this year, right? What I'm saying is that let's take $100 from that $2,000 bonus and let's do a gift, because people they can get a bonus from anywhere. But let's take something just to get started on it. would you feel comfortable moving forward? And you got to be like, I also noticed you just have to be extremely direct with business owners and just pretty much like just ask them straight up, hey, would you feel comfortable moving forward on just something small, even if it's 5 or 10 gifts? Let's do a trial period, because I know how much your time is worth, and to spend $1,000 for me to call you 10 or 20 or 50 times, it's not going to be worth your time or my time. But if you just want to make this $1,000 decision today, we can help you get started on it if it's something you're serious about. And then you as a rep have to basically tell yourself that maybe that's not the right customer and I have to go out and keep on prospecting. Because if you push really hard on some of these people and they're not willing to invest $500 to $1,000 in the program, it's because they don't get it, or you didn't do a good enough job explaining it and educating why it's so important that they should do it. And some people just, they don't get it. We're out there looking for the people that just get it. I don't know if that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, I think on the big thing I'm wondering is like, I know Frank has touched on this in the past. It's like you guys have I feel like you guys have a good, you have some good verbiage around like, hey, like, let's get you started with something you are comfortable with. So, and you kind of touched on that, like, hey, would you be comfortable making a $1,000 decision today versus a $10,000 decision today? But I know you guys push the pilot program or whatever. So I don't know if you have any verbiage around that.
Really, it's just like, hey, I kind of full court press people and ask them to do 5 of them. And if they can't do 5 of them, I don't know if I can ever see them doing 20, 50, 100, 200 of them. If they're not, and if they're super serious about it, I'm like, hey, well, you know what? Let's not spend $1,000 today. Let's not spend $2,000. Why don't we just get you a sample made? It's $100 plus a $50 digitizing fee. Are you comfortable with that? And if they say no, it's kind of like you're just really pressing against the wrong person. It's like trying to sell somebody in a kitchen that they don't even cook, or not even interested. So like, I think just going back and really over qualifying that person to see if it's the right person that you should be spending your time with.
I love that. You just, everyone should note this. Hey, what if we just get you a sample made? That's really, I don't think to do that. Like, I'd think about making a sample and sending it to them, but you're like, put that on them. Hey, let's get you a sample made.
Yeah, and I used to do all the time. I used to, like, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I like sending samples typically after a second or third conversation, and maybe they spent some money with me and they like the idea, not just to kind of send out samples just to send out samples. So I kind of put them in the hot seat, and it's more like a qualifying tool than me trying to make a $100 sample sale, and if they're willing to kind of pull the trigger and go through the different process, then they're willing to probably get to the next step.
That's money. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any.
Hey, Joseph.
Oh, Curtis.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Joseph, do you ever transition not only for gifts, but maybe as like business cards? Like if they're looking at pocket knives or anything like that, or do you just stick with, gifts?
What do you mean as business cards? Sorry, I can't hear you, Curtis.
I don't want to speak for Curtis. I know some people will have some spreaders or something like that engraved with their logo and info. And for extremely well qualified people, I've seen people at shows give that away. Don't want to speak for Curtis. I'm wondering if that maybe was what he's referring to with. Sorry, using those cards.
Like handing out your knife with your logo as a business card?
I'm just extrapolating. I've seen people do that, so I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I've done it in the past, but what I found is like instead of just handing it right then and there and just kind of seeming like, oh, I do this for everybody, like I would actually hang on to those and then send them off with a handwritten letter from Brain Tools or from yourself. And then it shows up like a week or two later, because it just kind of seems, for me at least, it's like, hey, you're a great prospect. Oh, let's do business. It just kind of seems a little needy versus just kind of like delaying it and then sending out a gift later, and then all of a sudden it shows up and it's just like that much more excitement. But that's the way I would do it, just so you kind of let it marinate and then do something like that. But I kind of do the slow play if the way I like doing it, but I don't think there's a wrong way to do it.
All right. I know we could go on all day, and I just want to hear more and more about business gifts all the time. But Joseph, that was great. I appreciate the just the like rapid fire, great tips, stuff that's helpful, stuff that's useful, and appreciate all your question answering as well. I think those are some good follow-up questions. So great. Hey everybody, let's give a round of applause to Joseph. Thanks for preparing that message for us. Thanks for teaching our team, helping out, and again, we are very excited.